do a brief introduction about what our organization is doing, has been doing so far, and our main activities. And then my colleague Muriel Vittori will extend this speech talking more specifically about the integration of migrants and the structure of first aid that we have in Italy, in Sicilia. Well, the main objective of our organization is, of course, to fully integrate the immigrants in the national community and to report, originate and abolish every form of intolerance and racial discrimination that are present specifically in the juveniles' behavior. But we extend this fight to the indirect form of discrimination that are often embodied by Italian norms and laws. So we believe that racism isn't always the ideological product of an aberrant culture, but instead we believe that it's often enforced by social tension and contradiction that produce war between poors and ghettization of the weaker. So we try to fight it with and talking with the people. So we try to we do sensibilization campaigns in suburbs, so in neighborhoods, in factories, in schools, and also in the shelters in Lampedusa and Sicilia, with many intercultural projects, and the most resilient one, I think it is the the Multicultural Bank of Time. So we organize a bank that the coin of this bank is the time instead of the bills. So everyone can teach something, like the most exchange product is the language, of course. So I exchange 1 hour of maybe Spanish, and I get from another person another hour of another language, maybe. Anyway, we also work with. We created a network with Roma's Association, that are the Roma people in Italy are the most discriminated one, and we collaborated also with many intellectuals and artists in Italy, such as Dario Fo, Lucio Dalla, or Oliviero Toscani, and but the main fights that we have right now are about the right to vote for the migrants and the citizenship. So my colleague will extend the speech.
Okay, hello everyone. Since the debate is on regularization of undocumented workers, we're going to explain the situation in Italy. So Italy started to feel the need of laws regarding regularization of undocumented workers around the 70s, but no laws appeared until 20 years later, and in the 90s, and then only 20 years later, then the 90s. So recently, in these years, a committee has been created to regularize undocumented workers. So why did so much time pass? What caused the Italian government to be paralyzed like that? Of course, the answer is the mob, the exploitation of undocumented workers from organized crime, which is a terrible thing that has been happening for a long, long time in Italy, especially in South Italy, and especially in Sicily. So Sicily is like has been the center of this profound issue for a long, long time, and so there is no dignity of work without dignity of being integrated in a society, without a social dignity. And that's why getting citizenship for immigrants is so important. And on the question of foreigners, Italy is ambivalent. Like, it has proved itself to be both eager to provide aid to migrants and resistant to give citizenship so far. Some weeks ago, young activists went to the Pantheon and protested against the lack of jurisdictional identity for them, that they feel like ghosts of the system. And only recently, and by recently I mean a few days ago, the Senate finally welcomed our request to extend citizenship to the second generation of migrants that aren't necessarily born in Italy. We are very close to go from ius sanguinis to ius solis. And this is a tremendous victory for immigrant youth, because this is a step towards equal jurisdictional rights and equal work possibilities. So far, for foreigners to obtain active and passive electorate rights has been challenging, because it was subordinated to conditions such as adult age and continuous presence on the territory, scolarization, economic condition, and the lack of any type of conviction. And to modify this condition, the Article 48 of our Constitution should be modified, and the interpretation of the second article, where it says inviolable rights, should comprehend the rights of the citizens, ergo the right to vote and participate actively and passively to the politics of the country. The ius solis has been ignored for a whole year, since the first time it was redacted, because it wasn't considered a priority compared with the other constitutional reforms that are being discussed heatedly recently. And Italian bureaucracy has become a means of repression, and the political class isn't aware of this yet because of cultural ignorance. Both the left and right parties have this idea that these rights they concede aren't inviolable rights, but rather privileges. And this cannot be accepted. These inviolable rights don't have to be tolerated. There's a great personality, an Italian personality, Pasolini, that wrote in one of his works that tolerance doesn't exist. That tolerance is the acceptance of something we don't like, but that cannot happen in reality. There's no acceptance of something we don't like. Accept is to love, to like. So the main criteria of action of SOS Racism Italy is to fight every and any form of bureaucratization of inviolable rights. And as you probably noticed, the main problem of acceptance of these rights doesn't lie in the population, but in the government. This morning we discussed on how to fight extremism of conservative parties and how to fight populism. I think in Italy's case, and maybe other countries too, that the question is how to fight populism and right-wing extremism despite an uncooperative government and uncooperative bureaucracy. The Italian population has proven many times to be fundamentally open-minded regarding immigrants. We see it every day when hundreds of refugees come to our shores and locals from Lampedusa offer them freshly baked bread and warm food and the kind of comforts that the shelters currently cannot provide. Because the shelters aren't functioning correctly, because the shelters are very overcrowded, and the situation is paralyzing. And these shelters were born as first-stage shelters, but have become a permanent situation because of the Dublin Treaty, because Italy is a first-aid country. And SOS Racism was the first organization to go to these shelters and get documented on the situation, and the shelter situation is a priority for us. And what we need is for it to be a priority for the Italian government and for it to be a priority for Europe as well. Thank you.